Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights. I'm your host, John Kasman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take 1 minute and leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you're interested in multifamily and you want to review a sample deal package, you are in luck. We have a special download on our website of a sample deal package. All you have to do is go to kasmancapital.com/sample deal, and you'll also join our mailing list to get exclusive tips and investment opportunities if you qualify. Again, that's kasmancapital.com/sample deal to join our mailing list and get this free sample package deal today. Now, today we're going to be talking to Dorian Carter, CCIM. Now, Dorian is the president of On Point Partners, a commercial real estate investment advisory and consulting firm. He is also the host of the Real Estate Wealth Generator podcast on Biz Talk Radio and Every Black Network. Now, Mr. Carter has been a developer, investor, broker, consultant, and educator in commercial real estate for the past 14 years, and he has a lot of experience in mixed use, retail, industrial, land development, and affordable housing. Let's welcome to the show, Dorian Carter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dorian, good to have you on the show today. First off, where are you located?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're right in Center City, the Queen City, they call it.
All right. So I'm in Cincinnati, and they also call this city the Queen City. So I'm always confused. I don't know which one is the real Queen City or not, but that's maybe another argument for another day.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So Dorian, listen, you've got a lot of great experience here, and I want to really talk about kind of the different experience that you've kind of amassed over the years. We've talked about in the bio, we talked about mixed use and land development, industrial, and so many other things. Maybe just take 30 seconds and talk a little bit more about who you are and your experience in your own words.
Well, I started out in this business really acquiring residential properties in Atlanta doing a buy and hold strategy. And so what I realized is that there were plenty of commercial opportunities and I knew nothing about it. So I decided to take a class and explore. Then the rest is history after that. And so I started out, left a cushy corporate job, making 6 figures. And then I got out here and 3 years later, the market crashed. So I was able to really see this thing from the start, come back, work myself through the depression times and come back. And I decided to focus on retail from the start. And so shopping centers was my thing for a number of years. I worked to do deals in Jacksonville, Florida, did Publix deals, Walgreens, and McDonald's. And so just to name a few. And so I seen it as a mission for me to focus in underserved or changing communities, because those tend to be some great opportunities where you can get properties very low and create a nice project. So as we know, everything is based on kind of how you go into the deal, what you purchase it for. And so it's really my mission to not only to build wealth for individuals and families, and to do it through commercial real estate. It's a huge opportunity for minorities to get involved in commercial real estate. The industry still only has less than 2% minorities. And so there's opportunities for folks.
Less than 2% minorities in the commercial real estate space. What do you think is driving that?
One is education. That's why it's a part of my platform to really teach, mentor around education in commercial real estate. Actually, The problem is just not with economics. Is if you make below a certain threshold, say if you're in the top 10%, then you're probably aware of some of these opportunities. Everybody else don't really understand how commercial works, yet it's a integral part of our everyday life.
No, I think it's something that, we talk a lot about, just because we see similar things, and we talk about from an investing standpoint. You hear a lot of people educating about wholesaling or fix and flipping, even single family rentals, but we rarely see people talk about multifamily investing or commercial real estate investing, and understanding that there's just more out there. And if you understand where you're at, understand your risk tolerance, understand what you're looking for, there's different avenues to investing in real estate. It doesn't have to be flipping a house or becoming a wholesaler. There's a lot of opportunities, especially if you're someone who, if you don't want to leave that cushy job like you did,
Yeah.
and you want to use the money you're making, the income you're making, to invest passively, there are ways to do that through commercial real estate, where you don't have to sit there and now try to become a landlord or apartment manager.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. There are so many opportunities, and to kind of reduce risk on this is to partner and pool your money. In essence, the same mindset that goes into doing a house investment or a house flip. It's an investment. It works the same on the commercial side, although it's more moving pieces. Commercial does offer some unique opportunities to grow your wealth a bit faster than you can do in residential. And when you say apartments are really, although it's a residential use, it is a commercial transaction. And so folks don't necessarily have to get into specifically doing shopping centers, but apartments is one of those places that you can build wealth as well, just like it is in a shopping center or owning a strip center, so to speak.
Yeah, so you're kind of in a lot of different sectors when it comes to the commercial real estate space, and we talked about Charlotte and Atlanta a little bit. Talk to us about the markets where you focus in on, as well as the different sectors and how you look at those different sectors.
Yeah, I do have experience in a few, and I partner on deals because I understand them at a high level. But specifically now, I kind of transform when it comes to market cycles. Right now, I'm really bullish on the medical office space, and specifically in the rural areas. We have a lot of big changes coming in technology. And when I say they ain't just coming, they're here, where you're servicing these folks in rural areas through telemedicine and those types of things. So, really bullish on that. The other space that is real exciting is infill industrial, where you have all of these companies delivering for Amazon, but they need spaces to lease to deliver directly to the customer, and with a goal of them trying to get products to people within 24 hours. So huge opportunities in those two areas.
And what are you looking at as far as metrics or dynamics to say, okay, when it comes to infield industrial, these are kind of the characteristics I'm looking for, as well as when you look at kind of the medical office space, here are the things. I know you said rural, but what, like, is it regional based, or what are some of the other metrics that you're looking at?
Yeah, we're on the industrial space specifically, we're looking at smaller footprint space, warehouse building close to center cities where what you see is a lot of those products aren't being used or utilized. So you can go in them with a very low basis. And it's long-term stability or sustain, because folks gonna always want their stuff within 24 hours. And in some cases, at some point, it's gonna be same day. And so we're looking at assets that you can go in on a lower basis, hold them long term, and get above average annual returns. So we're looking at new developments that return above 20% IRR. That's important. Rural area presents the same opportunities, but even better because medical is medical. You notice the insurance and the cost of medicine is not going down. But what's key about these rural areas is you can go into these properties at a lower basis. And so that's kind of what we're looking at and the reason why we're focusing. So it's not only the economic side of it, but really the number side allow you to go into it and not spend as much money as some of the other sectors.
Makes sense. So fundamentally, on the industrial side, you're looking at being close to city centers, but just outside of them, so you can easily transport, any of the goods or anything that's happening and developing. So, let's say Amazon's building a new center, you build it there or close to there, and you're close enough to the city center where they're going to get packages either same day or next day because you've built this center, and that's kind of what you're looking for as far as those opportunities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And every city needs it. What's funny, it doesn't matter if you're a primary city or one of the top cities like we're here in Charlotte, but it's also secondary and tertiary cities, opportunities. That goes to show you that opportunities are everywhere because people want goods no matter where they're at.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're here in Cincinnati, as we mentioned, and one of the big things here is, I believe Amazon's building like a $1.5 billion airport hub, just to help facilitate that, as you mentioned, where they can get packages all over. I mean, it's kind of a central part of the country, so you can get to 80% of the country within about I think an 8-hour drive or something like that. I heard. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, that definitely makes sense to be looking at industrial infield opportunities from that perspective. On the medical side, you mentioned the telemedicine. What exactly is that for folks who may not be as familiar?
Yeah, telemedicine is where at a primary hospital location, say in a larger city, where a that facility can be connected with a rural, smaller medical facility via the internet through the fact that at that rural center, they can hook you up. It has the necessary equipment that allow you to be hooked up and monitored and communicated with. So say a nurse is there with that particular patient and they can do the diagnosis and those types of things via the larger hospital where the medical doctor is. Folks can tell, at least from their medical bills, that doctors are very costly, and having to go physically to a rural location is not necessarily the best use of medical dollars. And so that's why you see the big influx of having these facilities in the rural area.
Got it. And because now that they're still in that big city or whatever, they can monitor all the information, all the key data points, and help either direct kind of that local doctor or the doctor that's at that rural facility, or be able to weigh in and make a determination based on the information they're receiving.
Yeah, because you can have a physician's assistant at that location, which is a lot less per hour than having a medical doctor there. And a lot of times they can do some of the same work.
Got it. No, that makes a ton of sense. So, and I know you kind of work with other investors as well as you're looking at these different types of opportunities. You mentioned 20% IRR potentially on new development deal. One, for folks who don't know what IRR is, can you explain what that is? And then two, talk about how you actually work with investors, the way you kind of bring them in and kind of grow your investor database.
Yeah, that's individual rate of return, IRR. So it's basically what is your return on dollar invested up front over the term of the project. So when we're doing these projects, of course, in the apartment space, it's done the same thing for investment dollar. Typically here, 5 or 10-year hold, and projecting out what the annual return would be on a project for every dollar invested. And so that's one of the determining factors whether or not an investor will invest his money. And so usually the higher the IRR, the more risk involved. But definitely that's important. So what we do is we're partnering with folks that can utilize any investment dollars that they have, whether it's 1031 exchange coming into these projects that want to see a long-term return. Medical is one of those that you folks want to get into and really understand because of their situations in a lot of cases. So our investor partners tend to be folks that really understand the space and looking for long-term returns and really understand that it's going to be a pretty stable investment for a long term because of what's going on medically in our country.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you think about kind of the fundamentals and where things are going, I think those two areas that you locked in on, they make a lot of sense because one, we are, e-commerce is such a huge thing that, the ability to receive your packages and do, get those things quicker and faster, that's going to be a continual thing because we're not going to go backwards and say, you know what, no, I'd rather just get that to me next week. If you can get it today or tomorrow, you're going to start getting comfortable and the expectation is going to increase that you're going to get things more frequently or more quickly than maybe what you got in the past. So that expectation is going to continue to be there. And then medical is one of those things where, I think that it is shown to be kind of recession proof where, it's one of those spaces where healthcare and the health industry thrives no matter what's happening with the rest of the economy. Because it's not like you stop getting sick just because the economy goes bad. So that's another sector that tends to do well. So focusing on those two areas, I see that there's a lot of good fundamental reasons there. Outside of that, I mean, I know you've done a lot of other things in the past. Is there anything that you're no longer doing or things that you kind of pivoted away from to shift your focus here?
Yeah, I spent a lot of years in the brokerage sector of commercial real estate, and I just see my mission more focused around passing on knowledge, getting more minorities into the commercial real estate space, and investors. Primarily, it's about training and wealth building. If I can do those two things, I'm fine. And so I moved away from really focusing on, I guess, more about me making money and moved into a point where I can make other folks money along with me. So.
And part of the way you're doing that, I know it's through the radio and the podcast stuff. Talk a little bit about what sparked you to launch kind of your podcast and start to share more of that information.
Yeah, the Real Estate Wealth Generator podcast is all about wealth building. One, what I found out is that it's an economic problem, not necessarily totally a minority problem. Thus, I'm on two different networks, one conservative network and one African American network. So it's important for me to educate whoever wants to hear it. And so I'm on a mission of wealth building. And the key to that is, of course, first you got to eliminate debt. But it's hard for people to be able to even retire in this country without building some form of wealth. And commercial real estate has driven many people to have above average wealth accumulation. And so we all know we can name person after person that are in the top 3% of this country. And if you look at it, it goes back to commercial real estate. And so that's why I really am bullish about communicating this and to whoever will listen.
I like what you said about understanding that this is really more of an economic issue because I think a lot of people look at wealth and depending on where you sit, some folks have tried to make it the enemy, right? Or billionaires making billionaires the enemy, and I completely disagree with that. I think the real issue comes down to how do we create the wealth for ourselves and then use that to fuel the passions that we have. Because ultimately, I mean, this country, there's a lot of money in this country. When you look and you go outside of this country, I do work for different organizations where clean water is not a given. So I think sometimes we take for granted the things that we have here. And that's not to minimize it by any means, but the point is to say, you know, we can all do something with what we have and to figure out how do you put yourself in position to create more wealth, create time, and fuel your passions. That's really on us to a certain degree, and we have to look at where we're at today and where we want to go going forward. And real estate is one of those vehicles that many people have used time and time again. It's a proven avenue to create wealth, and to learn some of the steps and some stuff that you're teaching. I think that's a great way for folks to put themselves in a position to both eliminate whatever debt that they have, but also start focusing on investing. And I don't think it's a finish one and then start two. I mean, I think you really need to figure out how can you start investing today while you are trying to eliminate your debt or make any changes in your lifestyle or things like that. What are some of the challenges that you face when you try to bring this message to people, especially since you are talking to minorities who are, typically a bit more hesitant and maybe give you a bit more pushback? What are some of the conversations you have, and what are some of those challenges that you face?
Well, two. The first generally is I don't have enough money to do it. And the answer is I can, at least lead them to thinking about where it absolutely is an opportunity and you have it right in your hand. One could be 401ks. A lot of folks don't know that they can utilize their 401ks to create a self-directed IRA and invest, or even utilizing old retirement funds that they left invested with a corporation a long time ago, and they got money just sitting there that they can pull and move tax deferred into another vehicle and utilize that to invest. The second is people tend to think that commercial real estate is really too big for them to get into. But folks pass a number of establishments daily that they can invest in. It could be a CVS where you're pooling your money with other investors, or it could be the little raggedy building that you got an idea on that you've been passing for the last 24 months, and you know somebody that will lease it from you. Well, that's an investment. And the building is vacant and probably can get it either at a low cost or can be owner's finance with very little money. And so the answer is all the opportunities is really at your, in your hands, and it's something that you already got. You just have to recognize that you can not only do it, but succeed at it.
No, I love that. I mean, those two great options there. One, look at your retirement accounts. You might have left a job, rolled over an IRA. Those funds can be used in a self-directed IRA to invest in real estate. Great strategy. The other is taking a look at your community. I mean, you're probably driving by opportunities every single day. You just have to change your mindset. So think about how else you can do it. Dorian obviously is a contact I'm sure you can reach out to if you see a deal or you know of a deal and you want to get a sense of how you can put it together and package it. But those opportunities are out there every day. I think folks who have a vision, who are serious about it, you start figuring out what it takes to go out and take advantage of these opportunities. And I think sometimes, especially for minority groups, if you're in a neighborhood and you see other folks starting to invest in it and starting to make higher end apartments or things like that, that's really the time. You want to get in a little bit before then, but even if you start to see that happening, that's when your mind should be really starting to shift to say, hey, we need to get in while this is happening before it's too late for us.
Yes, no doubt. And I'm right near Uptown Charlotte, and I'm probably in the biggest community that seems to be going through transformation in the whole city. I mean, literally, I live in it. I'm investing in it on projects, but it's more opportunities than it is people to take advantage of it. So I'd encourage folks to get involved with it, partner with it, and utilize what you got to get ahead. I mean, it's key. You know the community, so you should be the first one investing in it, in my opinion.
I love it. All right, Dorian, we're going to transition to our bullseye round. You ready?
I'm ready.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
Oh, the market died out in 2007. And look, I had a professor that told me back in, a real estate professor in 2003, he was like, no way we can be loaning this type of money across the country with no documents and the economy doesn't crash. Guess what? He was right.
Yep. He just, he was a little too early for his time. People probably didn't want to hear him while they were making the riches those 4 years in between, right?
No, I didn't want to hear him neither. I was young back then, you know.
Well, there you go. All right. What is the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year?
I recommend, as a matter of fact, the book is here. I keep it on my desk. It's called The People's Path to Real Estate Wealth, How to Make Money in Any Market. R. Donahue Peebles, I'm sure a lot of folks know him. But if you read that book, he wrote that book a long time ago. I had a chance to interview him last year. And I tell you, it's true. Recessions only matter to certain people. You got to know what to do in what market. So that's really a key fundamental of mine, just to understand what market you're in to determine what you're going to invest in and how you're going to invest.
All right, give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Trello. All of my projects are in Trello, my whole team. That's how we work on projects, updated, whether it's the properties we're acquiring. I can pick up my phone and look at the status of any deal or project that I have going on.
What is a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
Definitely prayer and some word early in the morning. Anytime I don't do it, I seem to be a little bit off focus, and it helps to get through all the challenges that are going to come. They're going to come daily. So reading that word in the morning definitely keeps me focused.
So you've got around 14 years experience. What's one thing you wish you knew starting out, or what's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
Actually, that you don't necessarily have to have a degree to do this business, invest, or whatever. I probably learned more by OJT and then training with others and mentorship. I never really had at least a mentor in business until later on. And so if I'd have known that earlier, man, you might not even see me on the podcast at this point. I might be on the stage.
There you go. So what's one thing you know now that you wish you knew 12 months ago?
Man, I tell you how much what I do, say, and teach impacts others. I tell you, we as people have to understand that we're always impacting somebody else, not just your kids, but really, and I'll say two things. So how much I impact people, and also how valuable time is. Every day is valuable, every hour. So if you want to spend more time with your kids, your family, you definitely have to focus on how to work smarter in business.
What advice would you give to a smart-driven college student about the real world?
I just committed today to mentoring a gentleman that's at a HBCU here locally. And so one of the first things I'm gonna tell them is, look, manage your money, your personal finances and money up front early. You know, I was a proponent even to my daughter that's in college now, and just not about taking on debt for college. You utilize whatever you have to limit the amount of debt, and keep your personal finances straight along with your credit. So that's most important here.
All right. What advice should they ignore?
Don't listen to anyone that hasn't at least achieved something and is really on a path of success. You have to be, of course, that doesn't mean don't listen to everything, but don't put any total value on any one person and verify everything.
What are you curious about right now?
I'm really curious about really how what we're doing now, what I'm doing now is going to affect generations to come. You know, my kids, and I'm really bullish on working to get more knowledge out. So I'm curious as to how what I'm saying and what I'm doing is going to impact going forward different generations. So very, very curious about it.
All right, and give me the best place to grab a bite in Charlotte.
I don't know about best place, but I'm located near Center City here, and it's a little American restaurant called Pinky's. It's like the place to go when folks come in town. So it's located just outside of Uptown. So Pinky's, I'm giving a shout out to them today.
All right, Pinky's, we'll definitely make sure we check that out the next time we're in Charlotte. Dorian, it's been a lot of fun. Great talking to you. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, they can reach out to me by email at realestatewealthgenerator@gmail.com. Of course, that same real estate wealth generator is on Facebook as well as Instagram. Reach out to me. You can get directly to me there.
And the podcast is on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else as well? Yes,
podcast is out there on several, actually a couple of national networks, but also is on Apple and those type of podcast hosts.
Well, Dorian, listen, you gave some great information today. I love your talk about really just the mindset to be open-minded enough to invest in commercial real estate, learning about the opportunities, the fact that industrial infill has some opportunities there, especially around kind of larger cities, and then looking in kind of rural areas for these medical opportunities as well. So I think those are two great opportunities for investors to be thinking about. And obviously you're helping both investors who want to invest passively, as well as other folks who just want to learn more and get educated about the space. So we'll definitely make sure we link to your podcast. And this has been a lot of good information on the show today. So thank you again for coming on, and we look forward to staying in touch, Dorian.
Yeah, thank you, John, for having me, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.